Hi, welcome to NUFC Matters. This is Steve Wraith, and we've got a new. Good afternoon, and welcome to a Saturday special with me, Steve Wraith.
Hello, everyone.
We've got NUFC Iceman with us. We've got Adam Beckett, and we've got Pete. Hi, guys.
Hi there.
Great.
Good to have you. Good to have you on. The beauty of social media, being able to put up a request for people who want to come on and talk about Newcastle United, and you lads have stepped up to the mark. So, as always, when we get new people on the show, just want to hear a little bit about your Newcastle United suffering and where it all started. So, NUFC Iceman, you first, mate. When did you first start supporting Newcastle United? What was your first game?
Oh, wow. What I can say is I used to live in a village called Whitburn. So most of my friends are all Sunderland fans. Boo. But I've lived in Derby for over 20 years now, so I'm able to run free with my shirt.
Fantastic. What was your first game then, mate?
I think it was Wimbledon. I can't remember the year. But I remember it being Wimbledon. I was only a little bairn at the time. But since that, I mean, I've moved to Derby, and it's very hard to get to and from. So I see the odd ones if I go up north for the summers.
Yeah. Good stuff, mate. Good stuff. Okay, well, welcome to the show. I'm sure you know how it works. So we've got an issue. We've got plenty to talk about, plenty of issues to talk about. Adam Beckett, you next,
Yes.
mate. Just a little bit about your Newcastle United supporting history. What was your first game? Why are you supporting Newcastle?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Steve. So I've been a fan for 25 years. I became a fan in kind of late 1994, 95. So right when the entertainers started coming together, my first memories of being a fan are of sort of Beardsley and Cole in that old McEwen's Lager strip. I think that was 95. But my first real vivid memory was of the entertainers. You know, that summer they put together Ferdinand, Ginola, Barton, Hislop, all in the same summer. I remember that amazing picture of the three, the outfield players on the Junior Magpie edition. So when I was 9 and 10, that was when I became really, really strong supporter. Then with the Keegan years. Unfortunately, I don't get to many games. I grew up in Oxfordshire, and then I moved to America when I was 18. So I've been here now for almost 17 years. I was first at a game, I think, in 2011, amazingly, was my first game at St. James's. It was a 3-1 win, I think, against Wolves. I think it was 3-1. Then I got to a game last September, amazingly. I went to the Brighton at home game, which was just about the lowest point of the year, probably, or one of the low points of the year.
Yeah.
But it was just a terrible, terrible game. I think we had 20% possession. About 43,000 were there instead of 52. But I did get to spend 3 days in the city, really exploring and kind of getting to know some people. And obviously it's a wonderful city and a wonderful stadium. So it was a really great experience. But yeah, so 25 years, about, give or take.
Fantastic. Pete, welcome to the show, mate. Thanks for reaching out and coming on. A little bit of information, please, on your background then.
Okay, so it was really strange, really, because I became a Newcastle fan by chance. I'm from Leicester, born and bred in Leicester, and at 7 years old, I just turned on the TV one day and there was football on, and it was Leicester versus Newcastle, and it was the game where Newcastle won 7-1 to get up to the Premier League. And I remember watching the game thinking, who are this team in black and white, just absolutely tearing Leicester apart. And I saw Andy Cole playing that day and various other players. And from that day, I was hooked. My first game was going to Sheffield Wednesday, David Ginola, for his very famous first time for the club. I was lucky enough to be there that day. And followed Newcastle ever since. So been a long time sufferer of Newcastle, but followed them everywhere. Luckily, lucky enough to have a season ticket in the early 2000s when we were under Sir Bobby Robson for a year, but work reasons and family reasons now, I'm not able to get season ticket, but I go regularly to away games up and down the country.
Fantastic, mate. Great stuff. As always, plenty questions coming in. Good afternoon, everybody. Please click the like button, hit the thumb up, and give it a share, just so we can get a few more viewers. Tom Slick saying, have you ever watched the game in the Paddington Bar in Ben El Medina, Costa del Sol? Quite a few expats watch the game in there. Has anyone watched it there?
No, I haven't.
No,
would love to though.
Me neither. Sounds really good. Jason, he says, one of my best memories of Newcastle match was the Charity Shield in '96. We got stuffed 4-0. What a great weekend. I didn't see a single Man United fan until we got to Wembley. Says it all, really. Yeah, I've got similar memories. Were any of you at that game? I was there. I remember getting soaked coming out of the ground as well. Yeah.
I wasn't at the game, but I remember watching it. I think it was Alan Shearer's debut, if I'm not mistaken. And I remember watching that game thinking that, all hell was going to break loose. But of course, we went on and stuffed them 5-0 later that year. So I'll always keep that as the memory of Man United.
Yeah. Iceman, we're going to come to you with Sean's question then. Do you think the deal is 100% off, or do you think that the petition, MP backing and now Boris Johnson backing, is just a narrative to put pressure on the Premier League to make a decision? What's your take on recent events then? Iceman?
Yeah, I think it's there's something going on in the background. Hello, can you hear me?
We can, mate. Yeah, go for it.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Go for it. We can hear you loud and clear, mate.
Yeah. Great. All I can say is I think there's definitely something rumbling in the background. There's definitely a power play. I think, if I'm reading right, and also it's, I don't know. I don't think it's 100% off the table. I think there's still a little bit of a nudging going on.
Yeah, that's fair enough, mate. Adam, your take on what Sean has to say. The petition, by the way, guys, which obviously we're aiming to get to 100,000, is at 97,422 on change.org, which, of course, it's an independent investigation into the EPL takeover process. So if you haven't signed it, get it signed. But Adam, what's your take on what Sean asks?
Yes, I mean it's an amazingly difficult question, isn't it? I mean, I think we would all like to think that the consortium will get another crack at this. I think the Premier League are going to be the ones that have to move, right, or compromise on the way they're dealing with the group. I think Amanda and her team, at least it appears, have sort of done everything that they've been asked to do, or tried to do everything they've been asked to do, other than what sounds to be impossible, making the Saudi state a director of the club, which is sort of a bizarre thing, in my opinion. So the short version of that is no, I don't think it's off for sure. I think it's most likely off for now, which obviously is a massive shame. But as the club have said, and all the groups have said, never say never.
Yeah, good point. Pete, what's your take on the takeover then at the moment?
For me personally, I want to believe that it's still on. There is a slither of hope there. But because they have withdrawn by their statement, and it's not officially still on the table, I think that's where a lot of Newcastle fans are at the moment. They're a little bit in limbo. And I know at the Toon Hall yesterday, and obviously on NUFC Matters last night, there was a few fans that have been saying the same thing, that because the fans have been trying so hard for the petitions and everything else, they want to have that confirmation it's on the table. So for me, when this deal came about earlier on in the year, this is the first deal in 13 years where I was invested in this, and I believed it was going to happen. And then the fact that they put the 17 million deposit down just reaffirmed my belief. And I've talked all the way through how confident I was. So I was shattered last Thursday when they put that announcement out. And a part of me doesn't want to have that hope again, to be shattered again. So I'm kind of in the middle at the moment. I want to believe that there's an opportunity, that there's a chance for us to be sort of reborn again as a club. But at the same time, I don't want to be hurt again by the disappointment of it falling apart. So I'm sort of in the middle. But the fact that Amanda Stady's come out and said so much positive stuff in the last week, and the Reuben brothers and PIF, you know, we just have to believe. We have to trust them and believe that they're doing things behind the scenes to make sure that it happens.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think, you know, I think I've said it already on the show that I genuinely just felt relief. I don't know whether that's because I've been asked about a million times whether I was confident or not. You know, but you know, the pressure of social media, the pressure of having more information than maybe your ordinary fan in the street probably got to me at times. I walked away from Twitter a couple of times because of, you know, just because of the pressure. But yeah, it's, you know, it felt like a relief because I think we're moved to another phase. And I would agree with all you guys. I think there's definitely something still going on. I think the political pressure is definitely going to play its part. And I think, you know, what will happen over the next week or two will define our history. I think we're seeing either the beginning of the end or the start of a bright new future. So we'll watch this space. And I think local heroes question, really depends on which direction we end up going in. Which one player would you sell and which one player would you buy? So I think what we'll do here, Iceman, is we'll work on the presence that, you know, we're going to have some money to spend when you buy a player. Otherwise, we're going to get depressed when you start, you know, mentioning players from, you know, maybe the first and second division. But yeah, which player would you sell and which player would you like to buy? Realistically. Oh, he's gone. Okay, Adam, we'll come back to you with the same question. Which player would you like to buy? Which player would you like to sell?
Well, I think really all fans, I think, would agree with me that we've got to buy a striker. You know, if you don't have a striker, you just have to keep buying them until you get them right. You know, we obviously got it dramatically wrong with Joel Linton. I don't want to give up on him yet, but in all reality, he's played 38 Premier League games now, and he's sort of proven time and time again that he's not likely to be a top Premier League striker. So for me, you know, either Edouard from Celtic or Morales from Rangers, I think, are realistic transfer targets. I think Morales would be available for something like 18 or 20 million pounds. So that's half of our budget gone. But again, if you don't have a striker, you probably don't win many games. You know, the other area, obviously, is left back. I would love to have Jethro Williams back. I thought he was great while he was at the club. I don't really want us to sign Danny Rose, even if he's cheap, because I was never convinced by his sort of commitment, frankly. And I know he'd come with massive wages, which we also probably wouldn't be able to afford. In terms of who I would sell, I think it's more just who I wouldn't bring back. So I would not bring back Bentaleb really under any conditions, even if he's available for 5 million, 6 million. I just thought he was terrible while he was here. But other than that, I mean, the squad itself is not that bad. You know, you've probably got 8 or 9 really good Premier League players, and then a handful of above average Championship players. So instead of selling someone, I just wouldn't bring back Bentaleb, if that makes sense. But certainly a striker has got to be the number one priority for the club this summer, and I really hope they move soon to get someone.
Iceman, welcome back. So you know what the question is. What's your answer?
Sorry.
Well,
I think we've got dead. We've got Deadwood, you know, Atsu, and you know, it's nice to see Colback gone. Sat on his bottom, banking the money. But if I was going to buy some, I think Callum Wilson. I think he's been absolutely a revelation for Bournemouth. I think he should be given a look at. He has had injury problems over the seasons, but yeah, I think still worth it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Pete. Same question to you, mate. Who would you buy and who would you sell?
For me, as Adam said as well, we 100% need a striker. That's been our biggest downfall for a number of years now, even under Rafa, is scoring enough goals in the club. We've had such a good defence in terms of keeping the goals out under Rafa, not so much this season. But Callum Wilson, for me, is the obvious choice. With his experience in the Premier League, with a price that has been talked about around 20 million, which is more than reasonable, considering Southampton paid 18 for Danny Ings the previous summer. I think that would be the obvious choice. Edouard at Celtic is another option for me. We just need a striker. For me, I think we need two. I personally wouldn't have kept Andy Carroll. I don't think he's been productive at all for us this season, which is his main aim is to score goals. I know he's got assists. I wouldn't have kept him. I'd get rid of Mutu. I'd also get rid of Joe Linton, but that's not realistic. It's not going to happen. They're not going to part with a £40 million player after 1 year, although a lot of them would like them to as a club. And I would get two strikers. I would get Callum Wilson, and I'd actually get a little bit of experience in drafting Troy Deeney for a short fee and have him as a backup striker. So you've got Wilson, Gale, and Deeney, and they're all capable of scoring goals. And that's, for me, that would be three strikers, realistic strikers, that would really set us up for the season ahead. If you're talking sort of takeover money, I'm not one of these sort of fans that are looking at the Mbappes and the Messis. I know a lot of fans haven't said that, but the media have portrayed us that way. Realistically, I would look at someone like Wilfried Zaha. If we had a bit of money behind us, Wilfried Zaha on one wing, ASM on the other, a forward-thinking, goal-scoring striker, someone like Callum Wilson, or going to the next level, looking at someone better, would really set up our attack nicely for the season. That's if we had a takeover and a bit of money behind us. The person that I would like I was going to say, the person that I'd like to sell, we could get the scroll out right now. But for me, Yedlin, who doesn't want to be there, Fabian Schär, also, in my opinion, I don't think he wants to be there either. Players that want to be at the club, they would be out the door along with Muto as well.
Great stuff, lads. Good answers. Michael Taylor's asking, why don't the Reuben brothers buy outright and then involve the Saudis after that? I don't think we're at that stage yet. I think they wanted the deal to go through, as it is, with PIF, 80% shareholders, PCP and Amanda, and the Reuben brothers being 10% shareholders. I think there's always that avenue to go down if this deal collapses outright and PIF walk away completely. So I don't think that's dead in the water, I've got to be honest. Leanne, go on, Pete. Go on.
Sorry, I was just going to ask you. Obviously, you talked about the Reuben brothers, and there's been a lot of talk of them because they are, their values, I think, is around 18 billion, it's still it would be one of the biggest in the Premier League under Sheikh Mansour if they were to buy it. But the question I was going to ask for you, if that's okay, do you think that, in your opinion, would be something that they would actually look at potentially?
I personally don't think that's something that will happen at this moment in time. Will they come back if this whole deal collapses? Look, they're investing money in the Northeast. I thought what the Reuben brothers came out with was probably the most interesting statement out of all three statements that have been released so far from buyer and seller. And to highlight the fact that, they were going to invest more in the area, creating jobs in the Northeast, I think was massively important. I think it also helps with the political game that we're now embroiled in. But, I've spoken to Jamie Reuben in the past, as I've spoken to Amanda Staveley. Obviously, from my perspective, will they do it? It's $1 million question. They're focused, as we've seen, on getting this takeover done in its, current form. So, should PIF withdraw completely and, we never hear from them again, it's something which I would imagine Newcastle fans would really want to push with the consortium of Amanda and Reuben. I think fans would love it. So I can't give you guaranteed answer. I can't speak for Jamie Rubin, but I genuinely feel it would be a great shout. So I'd love to see it happen, Pete. Yeah. Leanne says, I've only been a fan for 11 years, but I've been an NUFC widow for 21. I can honestly say I've never known a more passionate group of fans and feel we get a raw deal all of the time. What do you think? Iceman, did Newcastle fans get a raw deal? Oh, we've lost you there, mate. We've got you again. No, we've got you now. We've got you now. Yeah, go on.
Yeah.
Go on. Did Newcastle fans get a raw deal?
See it is divide. Hello. Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Did Newcastle fans get a raw deal? Yes. Yeah, there's definitely a raw deal. I mean, especially for my wife, who's just literally just messaged.
Yes. All right, okay. You're having a few problems with your internet, and I think there's a slight delay, mate.
Yeah,
so,
no.
I don't know whether you want to get in a slightly better place, and then we can come back to you if that's all right with you.
Yeah.
Adam, from your perspective, do Newcastle fans get a raw deal, do you think?
Yeah, I don't think there's really any doubt that the Premier League and the media in general has always had sort of a London bias, and I'll be careful that I was born and raised in London, but I don't think there's any doubt. Just geopolitically, in the UK, the Northeast gets a raw deal. Really, the whole of north of England gets a raw deal. Certainly economically. So, yeah, I think we've always been sort of labelled as wanting too much or expecting too much from the club or from the owner, and obviously that's not realistic. Not enough of us get to speak publicly about sort of our wants and needs from the club. Steve, obviously you do a great job when you get to go on TV, setting realistic expectations. I mean, all we really want, all we've ever really wanted, is a club that's trying to go forwards instead of just simply a club that is trying to avoid going backwards. Right? I would make the argument that if you're not going forwards, one way or another, you are actually going backwards. So. Yeah, we do get a raw deal, and it's very, very sad because everyone sort of knows the realistic expectations that we do have as fans.
Yeah, Pete, same question to you. Do you think Newcastle fans get a raw deal, mate?
I think we've had a raw deal from the media and from other fan bases for quite a while now, and I think it stems back to the entertainers' days in the early 2000s under Sebo Robson, when we were successful, and we were a club that sort of at those points did demand a team that was fighting in Europe and fighting for the title. And I think we've that sort of stigma stuck with us, even when we, as a fan base, we've not had that mentality. You see it in the media where they write about us thinking that we demand to win the league and we demand to be in the Champions League. We don't. We want a team. We want a club that's ambitious. I've been saying it for quite a while now. I want to have a club where I'm not looking at the fixtures every season just to see where we're going to get our 40 points from. I don't want to be supporting this club worrying whether we're going to be in the league from season to season. We want a team that's ambitious, that wants to be pushing the top 10, that wants to be, looking at the top 8 and thinking, can we break that this season? But we haven't got that. We haven't got that ambition at all. And that comes from the top. That comes from the owner. That comes from the regime. And that's the frustrating part. And that's what I think all the fans are feeling at the moment. And they have been for a long time. But from the outside, they don't see it that way. They still see that stigma from the early 2000s, from the entertainers, and just stickers with that same sort of tarnishes with the same brush, really.
Okay, Iceman, hopefully you're okay now. Do Newcastle fans get a raw deal?
All the time. Like I said, it's a north-south divide all the time, and we always get the worst of everything, really, don't we?
Yeah, I would agree, mate. It's one of those things we're just misjudged, I think, in the media. I think that's the big problem. I think a lot of fans just think we want to win stuff. Even people in the media just talk about that, So it's interesting to see how things pan out. James Brown says, "Afternoon, lads. We have heard that Woodman and Longstaff are set to leave the club in the window. Do you think it's about time there's a limit on the amount of foreign talent teams have We had this question last night. Adam, coming to you on this one. Foreign players coming into the Premier League used to be limited. Now it just seems to be, we seem to be packing the league and squads full of foreign players. It doesn't give youth a chance. And of course, we all know what happened the last time. Newcastle United had a good crop of youngsters come through. They went on to form the Entertainers.
Yeah, I mean, it's another really difficult question, isn't it? And it's obviously much bigger than just Newcastle. But there's no doubt it's a real shame that academy products don't get more opportunities. Obviously, the Matty Longstaff situation is a little bit different, right? We all know what's kind of going on there. And I would make the case for Freddie Woodman. A lot of people are saying that he's a future England #1, but right now he'd be sat behind Dubravka, and I don't think any of us want to see the end of Dubravka's time at Newcastle right now. So obviously the ideal situation for Woodman would be that he signs a new contract and he goes back out on loan, but you can't do that forever. I think Dubravka is 33, maybe turning 34 soon, so he's probably got another year or two at the top level. I know he signed a long-term contract, but so it's a tough one with Woodman. I'd love to see Longstaff stay as well, of course, but I think it's difficult to start limiting foreign players, and that get sort of political on that. But I think it starts sort of changing the product a little bit. The best players will end up at the top, sort of wherever they're from, ultimately. So it's a tough one. We would all love to see 11 Geordies on the pitch, or at least 11 Englishmen playing for Newcastle every week, but the league just doesn't work like that. It's a global game. I'm sitting here in Minnesota talking to you right now about Newcastle, right? That doesn't happen without the Premier League being a global game. So it's a tough one, but I would say right now you really couldn't start limiting where players are coming from on each squad.
Yeah, Pete, same to you, mate. Foreign players.
It's been a growing theme for years now in the Premier League, where foreign players are sort of more a priority than bringing through your young players. Particularly for Newcastle, I personally think Freddie Woodman's been massively mismanaged since he's been at the club. He's had poor loan spells. The best loan spell he's had has been Swansea this season. He's had poor loan spells. He's not been utilised as well as he should be, and I think he's frustrated. He's got massive potential. I think he will leave the club, and I think he'll go on and be #1 somewhere in the Premier League, and at some point get an England cap, because he's a great goalkeeper. Equally, from the other side, Matty Longstaff, it would have been great to keep him. I personally think he'll go now. It would have been great to keep him, but I'm not that frustrated about the fact that he's left, if I'm totally honest. And the reason being is because for our club at the moment, we are not in a position under this regime to bring through and harness and develop young talent. Because we're in a position to constantly try and get to 40 points and just try and stay in the league, we have to have these ready-made players that are already there, that are already at the level to produce every single week. And it's frustrating because we want to bring through these young players. We did with Sean Longstaff, but it was very much by chance because we had a massive injury crisis. It was very similar to Matt Longstaff at the beginning of last season. And that's the frustration, that we're not in a position to actually bring through these guys and give them time to progress, to give them the cup, for example, to progress, because we want to be winning the cups and we want to be trying. And when we play those young players, when we're playing a sort of a half reserve squad, and then we end up getting beaten, and then they're not seen again. So it's kind of it's a 50-50 really. It's a frustrating situation for me. And that was with the takeover, if it was to go through, we'd be in a position to be able to buy those sort of upper echelon type of players and have those young players come through and play with those quality players to develop their game and bring them on even better. You look at Mason Greenwood, for example, at Man United. He wouldn't have got that opportunity at Newcastle, but because he's playing under those quality of players, he's able to be his own man and develop and be that sort of player he is. And you can go through any other squad in the Premier League. That's the frustration for me.
Yeah, Iceman, same question. You know, are there too many foreign players in the game these days?
Well, unfortunately, that's the way the game goes. You know, everyone wants to see the top best players in their league and in their teams. And unfortunately, we do overlook quite a lot of our young talent. I mean, you look at teams like Chelsea who send out their best players or young players out on loan all the time, and then they never see light of day in a blue shirt. So, you know, that's the way things are in football.
Yeah, good point, mate. Good point. Jason Carter asks me a question. He says, Steve, thinking outside the box, could Ashley remain as owner, but the PIF fund the club and just keep Ashley as the name over the door? Again, I don't think that's a viable option. Ashley wants out. He doesn't want anything to do with running a football club, wants to concentrate on his retail industry and retail shops. So I don't think that's an option at all, if you want my honest opinion. Lee says, does anyone know if the takeover has been pulled from owners and directors test? If so, how can the pressure get it passed, or is it just sitting there? Good question. Something which they seem to have skirted around the issue on. My understanding is that PIF have withdrawn completely, but they can be persuaded back at any time and the deal can be resurrected. That's where we're at. I look at this and I put this to you guys. I feel as if this has been done really so that they could come out and speak about it. Adam, it seems to me that they've pulled away from the table. They've pulled out of the deal so that they can break. They would have broken NDAs otherwise. Now it's given them the opportunity to come out and explain to the fan base what exactly is going on.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Steve. I mean, there was some really interesting reporting from George Colkin at The Athletic, and I think Mark Douglas and maybe some others talking about that on the Tuesday before the announcement that the consortium was very close to releasing a similar statement, but without the withdrawal language, trying to create pressure on the Premier League and trying to create a conversation, ironically, that we're all now having about transparency and the process and the communication with the group. But obviously something changed in those 24 or 48 hours, and PIF just said essentially that they'd had enough of dealing with the Premier League in the way it was being handled. So again, I think PIF is trying to create pressure, rightly or wrongly. They've taken a very aggressive position. I think they are trying to create the dialogue that we're all having as fans, and now obviously it's become a political issue. So it'll be very, very interesting over the next week or 10 days or 2 weeks, like you said, Steve, to see if it moves the Premier League. I mean, my fear is that they will essentially, put their fingers in their ears and just ignore all of this and hope it blows over when the league restarts, which again is only now, 4 or 5 weeks away. So they've just got to hang on until then, and all of this will go away because we'll be so focused on the football. I mean, let's not forget, I think the training starts for the first team in 10 days. So the season is right on us again already. And the dialogue is going to quickly move from the takeover onto, sadly, how do we stay in the league again? So yeah, we're at a real crossroads right now, and it'll be very, very interesting to see if anything does change over the next few weeks. But, I think in all likelihood, we're going to have to sort of settle into another year or at least another 6 months of Mike Ashley owning the club, which I know he hates and we hate, right? This is maybe the first time that we've been in this united, not only as a fan base, but finally with our owner. Ironically, after 13 years of misery, we're now about as united as we're ever going to be with him. We both want the same thing, but the Premier League is standing in between us.
Yeah, Pete, same question to you, mate. Do you think it's been a tactical withdrawal so they could come out and break cover and say what was going on?
I think 100% it's been a tactical manoeuvre, and I think they've had to. We have to remember that the PIFs, the Stableys, the Reuben brothers are very, very successful businessmen and women, dealing with multi-billion-pound deals. These guys are professionals in what they do. And I think they've been watching this over the last 16, 17, 18 weeks and seeing how unprofessional the Premier League have been and how they've managed the situation. And they've had enough, because this is not how they're used to having these deals sort of being dealt with. So from their point of view, I think they've had to withdraw to be able to, like you said, to be able to get their side of the story out on what they've been having to be dealing with over this period of time, to let the fans know that they are there and they do want this deal, and it's been backed up by the statements, as well as Mike Ashley as well, via Lee Charnley, that this deal, they all wanted that deal to go through. And I think it's telling the fact that the Premier League have said nothing. There was a question on there a second ago saying, well, why haven't the Premier League just rejected it? Why haven't they just come out and said anything? And the honest answer from my point of view is because they have no reason to reject it. I think everything they've put in front of them has been genuine. I think any questions that have come back their way, I think they've answered them, and they've sort of, given them solutions to some of the issues that might have been there. And I don't think that's what the Premier League were expecting. And that's why I personally think the Premier League have stayed silent. If they had something to say, they would have said it by now. And I think the silence has been golden. And I think it's told everyone, certainly within our fan base, everything we needed to hear. The fact that they've said nothing. And I think with the petition, with the MPs getting involved, I actually still, I'm starting to believe now that the media are starting to grab hold of this, because I think that the media are starting to see actually why are the Premier League not saying anything. This is not really how it should be going down, and I think the media are starting to grab onto this now. And I think the more it builds and the more the petition comes along, the more backing we get. I think the Premier League are going to have to come out and say something, and when they do, I don't think it's going to be a case of it's going to be rejected. I think it will be a case of they've got no leg to stand on.
Yeah, 97,536 now the petition's up to, so we're getting there slowly but surely. Iceman, just the same question to you, essentially, about the the situation. Do you think this was a tactical withdrawal? You need to unmute your mic as well, mate.
Yeah. Over there, yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah, it's definitely some sort of a power play. I mean, we'd heard in the media that they were supposed to be doing a gloves off statement. Really, that's the biggest gloves off you can get, really, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%, mate, 100%. Next questions from Barry Hogan. He says, what do I feel about the Sky interview I did? Felt like it was cut to the minimum, as if they had to put something out. It wasn't cut to a minimum. There was different versions on throughout the day, Barry. I saw a lot of people attacking Keith and Pete Graves in particular on Twitter last night. I went out to defend them because, they got the guys up to come and interview me. They gave us an opportunity to put out what we wanted to say. And overall, I was happy with it. I'm always quite careful what I say anyway. And to be fair, I thought I got the point across. And I think, I'm already like a bit of a chess player in these situations. I'm almost trying to second guess what will happen. And I think the point I really wanted to get across here was, if Mike Ashley wants to sell the club, then essentially, we could be working with him to help him. And if this takeover does collapse, which of course I hope it doesn't, then we have a situation where Mike Ashley wants to sell the club. The fans want him to sell. Come and speak to the fans, whether that's via the trust, whether it's via, anybody else, just come and speak to the fans and tell us what we need to do to help you. You know what I mean? That's the reason I went on and, to highlight the petition, of course, as well, which is what we did. So, look, you can be critical of the media, but I think they did us a massive favour yesterday as far as the campaign's concerned. And I appreciate your opinion, Barry. We all have different opinions. Next question. Sean saying Richard Foster's hide and seek champion. Yeah, I did manage to get that in. I'm not sure whether they showed that. One thing for certain is that this has put tremendous pressure on the EPL. Anything it will uncover what has been going on behind the scenes. Let's wake the sleeping giant. Thanks for that, Wes. I want to ask you about the strips, actually. There is new strips coming out, guys, and I need to get a picture of them up. So if you bear with us. I mean, just first of all, do you guys buy replica tops? Is it something you've got, Pete? You've got one on there, I see. But is it something you buy, Adam, a replica top on a regular basis?
No, not on a regular basis, Steve. I like the classics, the retro shirts that are out. I've got the 95, the 96, some from the Bobby Robson era, just partly because they remind me of much, much better times. I don't mind some of the leisure wear and wearing one of the training tops now. This is actually because I went to the game in September and I underdressed, so I had to go to the club shop and buy something to wear, which, the club shop was a really pretty sad experience. Again, maybe for another time, that conversation. But no, I tend to buy the classics. Like I said, I haven't bought the home shirt probably for at least 4 or 5 years now.
Well, I haven't bought one for at least 10 years. Iceman, what about you? Are you a person who buys a replica strip?
Totally honest with you, I never buy them, but I normally get them given for presents, birthdays and Christmas and whatever. So, it's not out of my pocket.
Okay, well, here we go. The big reveal. It's been revealed on social media. Some of you will have seen it. Others watching won't. This is going to be the new second strip. Thoughts on that, Pete? Would you buy it? Would you wear it?
I'm not going to buy it. And I'd said to myself, if this takeover doesn't go through, I'm not investing any more money into the club. Certainly not into my captain's pocket. So I won't be buying it. I don't mind it. It's certainly better than the last yellow kit that we had back in 2009 in the championship season. So it's not the worst kit in the world. That isn't great.
That's the third strip, Pete.
Yeah, that's not great. But yeah, I just won't be buying them, to be honest.
I've got to be honest, that one, I could see us probably wearing it on holiday. That one looks like somebody's just been run over. It looks like tire tracks or something. It's horrendous. Yeah, so go on, Adam, your opinion on that one first.
Well, like Pete said, that's not the worst away strip we've had. It might be in the top 5 worst, but it's not the worst. I wouldn't buy it, but I do like that it looks like they've put a bit of thought into it. It looks like there might be a pattern to it, which is better than some of the template ones we've had. And then that third strip you showed it's just mind-boggling, isn't it? I mean, I don't know who comes up with this stuff, but that's a totally bizarre third strip. I'm sure we'll wear it 2 or 3 times, but yeah, I have no idea what's going on there.
No, it's a bit strange, isn't it? Iceman, what's your take on the strips? That one first.
Oh, the only ones I ever liked was the Adidas ones, but the Puma.
Oh, he's gone there. He is. Yeah, go on, mate. Go on. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, sorry. The Puma ones are just more like cut and paste, aren't they? These new shirts.
Yeah. Would you buy either of them, or if somebody bought it as a present, would you thank them?
No.
Okay, I think it's a resounding no for Puma's new strips, unfortunately. So I think it's back to the drawing board for them guys on that. But nothing wrong with the Newcastle United strip. And of course, Nicholas says the Blue Star strip all day until we are sold. Lee Clark loves it. Loves the fact that we keep plugging that. I think he came on the show last week and said that there've been 500 strips sold, which is amazing for a non-league team. Absolutely amazing.
I've just ordered mine. That's where I'm investing. It's a fantastic top. So I've ordered mine, so I'm waiting for mine to come through.
Stephen says the third strip, the design is taken from the Milburn stand roof. Geordie Jedi says it's like school team kits. It is. It's got a 70s retro feel about it. Christopher says the purple one's what Pogba wears out on the tune. Barry Hogan says the Blue Star shirt is class. I'm waiting for the away one to come out. Yeah, that's going to be the grey strip as well, which is fantastic. Vicky, your good lady says, "Don't worry, Iceman, I won't buy you one," which is good. Bada says, we hope for the deal to get done because we got to know the brilliant northern people. I love the accent the most. You definitely changed my perspective on the typical Brits stereotype. That's very nice of you to say that, Bada. I've also heard or saw somebody on Twitter today saying, well, at least one thing I've got out of this takeover is I've improved my English, because a lot of them have had to learn English to understand what we're going out about on Twitter. Local Heroes found out who the designer is. He says it's Stevie Wonder. wonder who designed the scripts. I think I know what you're getting at there, mate. Yes. We're coming into the last 15 minutes of the show. What I want to talk about next is management, or shall we call it head coach, Pete. Steve Bruce. We're not going to do a season review. We've moved on from last season, and as Adam quite rightly pointed out, we're only 5 weeks or so away from the new season. So, Steve Bruce, he had a success last year. I think most of us accept that, because he came into the club on a hiding to nothing, replacing Rafa, who'd had a love in with the supporters. What do you expect to see from Steve Bruce in the next season? We've got to admit that he's going to be there now. We've got to accept he's going to be there. What do you accept? What do you want to see from Steve Bruce?
Where do we start? I want to see a system, a tactical system. I want to see him playing players where they should be playing. And there's too many chopping and changing with certain players in certain positions. For example, playing Shaw in midfield, playing ASM on the left. I personally think he's better on the right. Playing Joe Linton down the middle, where he's not a striker at all, in my opinion. I think he made a lot of mistakes. Yes, we can say it was a success. He came in 2 weeks before the season, under difficult circumstances, and has managed to get us into a position where he stayed in the league. Fair play. That's as far as it goes, in my opinion. He needs to be able to take this club forward now. This team, this squad of players, needs to move forward. He's talked about it time and time again, even more recently, saying he's going to kick us on next year, and we're going to go on, and we're going to see that progression that the fans can't see personally. But he's talked about it. I'm sick of him talking. I want to see it now. He's saying that he's going to do this. He's saying he's going to get the players in to take us forward. Now you need to show us. If you're going to be that manager that's going to take us forward, you need to show us. I don't want to hear him saying it in the presses every week, because it gets boring and it gets tiresome. He needs to start showing us.
Yeah, Adam, same question to you. Nicholas is asking, are you the lad who made the film about your first match at St. James's Park from the USA, by the way?
No, that wasn't me. I did take about 7,000 pictures, which my wife is probably delighted about. Most of them are now in frames around the house. But no, that wasn't me, unfortunately. As far as Bruce goes and sort of the team and the structure of the group, we would all have taken 13th, sadly, right? When he was announced as manager, we all thought, or certainly I did, that we were likely to be in a relegation fight the whole season, if not, relegated. So, yeah, like Pete said, credit to him for keeping that group together and keeping us relatively safe. I think the last time we were in the relegation zone was something like game 8 or game 9. So again, well clear of relegation. That shouldn't be our expectation, but it just is these days. And sadly, we would probably all take 13th again this year, right? Because we've got no idea what's coming this summer. We've got no idea if we're going to invest in the team. We've got no idea if they're going to end up selling one of their star players. It wouldn't surprise me at all if ASM has a release clause in his contract that at least gets talked about this summer. So who knows where we'll be. What I would love to see, and Pete nailed it on the head, I would love to see Bruce come out with a genuine system, some real identity to how we're going to play. If it is going to be 4-2-3-1 or 4-4-1-1, let's get into that. Let's stick to that, right, wrong, or indifferent. Let's have an identity and create a team around a mentality of going forward. I think he called it front foot football when he first joined the club. I think we saw maybe some shades of that in the restart. Obviously, the Bournemouth game and the Sheffield United game are examples of that. But yeah, I just want to see some character. I want to see a real identity to the team and keep the group together. He's got a full preseason now. It's going to be another weird preseason, of course, like every preseason at Newcastle. But he's not just got 2 or 3 weeks. He does have more time this summer, and hopefully 1 or 2 of his own players that he brings in, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Yeah, Iceman, same question to you. What has Steve Bruce got to do for you next season?
Well, I think if we look back to last season, when he was appointed, we all thought doom and gloom. But fair to the guy, he's done a fantastic job. Kept us up. I mean, he can't do anything more, can he? With, I mean, maybe the playing staff he's got on the field.
Yeah, fair enough, mate. Fair enough. Mad Mark asks a question. Start with you on this, Pete. Again, Steve Bruce related. Has he improved any player from the previous season under Rafa? I'll start with this. I think he's Bruceyed a few players. I know, Pete, you mentioned Shaw earlier on, and he played really well under Rafa, but he just didn't fit into the system that Steve Bruce put on the team. So I think he Bruceyed him, but one player to benefit has to be Shelvey. He finished top scorer. He was back to his best rather than his frustrating worst when he played, of course. So yeah, I think he's improved Shelvey, but I think he's completely knackered some other players. But Shaw's probably the one to highlight. What about you, Pete?
I would agree. I would say Shelvey would, if Rafa had stayed, Shelvey wouldn't be at the club right now. Rafa wanted him on, and there was lots of talk of him going to West Ham. I don't think he would have been here if Rafa had stayed. So he's definitely got the best out of him. Equally, Managerial as well has had a very good season under Bruce, which is obviously been rewarded with a new contract. I would say Shaw's gone downhill. There's a number of other players that have gone downhill as well. I don't think Lascelles has had the best season, if I'm honest with you. I would say he's improved. Hayden's had a very, very good season. He's been a fantastic player. But Richie's not been the best either. He's not been his firing best. I know he had a bad injury, but even since he's come back, he's not looked the same player. And this is my worry, is that there doesn't seem to be any consistency there with his management. I worry, if I'm honest, I really worry, and I might be going off topic here, with regards to Alan Saint-Maximin next season. Because it seems to be, and I don't know what you guys think, Adam and Iceman, it seems to be that there's a hell of a lot of pressure on him to perform and do business every single game. And it seems to be it's a case of give him the ball and let him run at defenders. But because he's so explosive as a player, he can't do that for 90 minutes. It's impossible. And that's why he picks up his injuries, in particular his calves and his hamstrings. We really need to have players around him that are going to take the pressure off him, whether it's guys up top that are scoring goals or whether it's someone else on the opposite wing that's going to be able to perform and do something. I really do worry about him. And if we lose him for a length of time like we did this season, we're going to seriously suffer, because you've already seen the stats of when he plays and when he doesn't play, how much of a difference he makes in this team. That's what I worry about. Yeah,
Adam, what's your views?
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree on ASM just quickly. We're totally a one-man team, especially going forward, right? If Saint-Maximin isn't playing well that day or for that 20 minute or that 45 minutes, then we've got almost no chance of scoring, right? That was particularly, I think, sort of imposed on us after the restart, right? In that Bournemouth game, he was just tremendous for that 35, 40 minutes that really put us out of sight. But we also saw games in the restart where he wasn't on his best that day, or he wasn't his most explosive, and we just had nothing going forward. So yeah, we're totally a one-man team. But in terms of who Bruce has improved, I agree that John Joe Shelvey wouldn't be at the club still if Rafa was in charge. Rafa wanted a totally different type of midfielder, which I didn't have an argument with at the time, but Shelvey's been tremendous. Isaac Hayden had a very good season, and I think you actually have to give Bruce credit for Almiron and Saint-Maximin. Right, Almiron really had a pretty rough first calendar year in the Premier League, but whether it was luck or whether it was Bruce, I don't know, but he ended the season with, I think, 8 goals in all comps, which I wouldn't have put a fiver on him doing that at Christmas. So fair play to Bruce, I suppose, for that. Fede Fernandez also tremendous, right? He fits perfectly into that two-man central defense. In terms of who's gone backwards, yeah, I mean, no doubt, Yedlin just disappeared off the map, right? He wasn't all that good in the first place, but he's really completely disappeared. Emil Kraft, someone's going to have to explain to me what that was all about when they signed him. Lascelles hasn't been his same. I know he's had some injuries, but you know, Paul Dummett as well wasn't himself this year. Obviously, injuries and whatever else happened. But Jethro Williams seemed to really enjoy playing under Bruce as well, with St. Maximum on that left-hand side. So, you know, I made that point earlier. Maybe that's something they really need to consider, is bringing him back, because he fit so well into that team when he was there. Yeah,
good stuff. Iceman, same question to you.
Well, I think Fede Fernandez, as Adam said earlier, has been absolutely fantastic. He was in and out of the team all of the time, but given the playing time, he's shown his colours and he has been absolutely fantastic. I think Dubravka's been a shining light. You know, if it weren't for him, you know, we shudder to think on what could have happened. But a lot of the playing staff have played really well. There has been the odd Brucey player, but we live in hope, and let's see what next season brings.
Yeah, a lot of interaction about Bruce. You'll have seen all of those comments coming up, and I think most people tend to agree with us. A lot of talk about who you would have, you know, who would you have instead of Steve Bruce. You know, the names that are getting bandied around are, of course, you know, if the takeover goes through, Rafa and Pochettino. If the takeover doesn't go through, people are suggesting Eddie Howe, Sean Dyche. You know, are those the kind of names that would fill you with excitement, Pete?
I think both of those managers would do a better job than Bruce, if I'm honest with you. With the squad that we have, I personally think both of them would do a better job for sure. But there's not many names out there, I have to be honest, under this regime, because let's be honest, who would want to be manager of Newcastle United under this regime? You know, a lot of managers are put off coming to Newcastle, not because of the club, not because of the players or the fans. It's working under Mike Ashley and Lee Charnley because of their restrictions and how they operate. That's the biggest problem. And that's why a lot of managers, even some of the higher up managers, don't want to come to Newcastle. And that's the frustration.
Yeah. Same for you, Adam. Really, it's you know, if Bruce was to go, would you like to see somebody like Dyche come in, or Eddie Howe?
Yeah, I mean, I think again, you know, under the current ownership model, Steve Bruce is sort of the perfect manager for them, isn't he? I mean, he's not going to give them any trouble. I think he's just happy to have the job, and fair play to him. It's his local team. I would love to have that job as well. So I get where he's coming from there. But yeah, I mean, Eddie Howe and Sean Dyche are good managers. They've shown, you know, a track record of success. You know, not this year, obviously, for Eddie. But you know, even Bruce wasn't this owner's first choice, right? They wanted Arteta and they couldn't get him. They couldn't convince him that it was a project he wanted to be a part of. I think they wanted Patrick Vieira again for maybe the second time. Same thing. Couldn't convince him it was a project worth doing. So in many ways, for a club that just wants to stay in the Premier League, Steve Bruce is an okay manager for that. I would back him to do that again this coming season with a few bits and pieces added. But if they wanted to take the club forward, no doubt Steve Bruce wouldn't be the man to do that for us.
Yeah, Iceman, same for you, really. You know, would you go for an Eddie Howe or a Sean Dyche?
Yeah, I do actually like Sean Dyche. I mean, season after season, he's done really well. I'll be a little worried with Eddie Howe. I mean, he's a lovable guy and a good manager, but I kind of get the feeling he's either lost the dressing room or, you know, he's kind of just run out of ideas. So I would be worried about that. But I think Sean Dyche has kept Burnley solid season after season.
Yeah, good stuff, mate. Good point. Reached the end of the show, guys. Just want to give you a chance to either give your social media as a shout out, or give a shout out to any organisation you're in with where you maybe want people to go. So, Pete, starting with you, mate. Just tell us a little bit about what you do, and just give us the contact details if you want to.
Yeah, so I mean, my Twitter handles at Daves, DAVEZ 2010. I actually do a stream with a group of guys that we just met by chance. We're Geordies down south. I know there's Jonathan Young who's been on there, Andrew Young as well, that follow us. We've been starting that just before restart and doing a sort of a preview and a post-match on Newcastle, and just talk about the takeover and various other things. And it was just by chance, really. It was a group of guys that just kind of got together as Newcastle fans because we're from further south of the country. And, it started from WhatsApp, then built into a stream, and we'd sort of, building from there. And it was the guy, Clinton Ford, who sort of constructed it and put it all together. So massive thanks to him. And he's sort of the architect of it all, really. So if you want to, it's on YouTube. Give it a follow, subscribe to it, and just listen out to what we do, really.
Yeah, and pass on my best to Clinton. I remember when he was working up here and doing a little bit of work. He's a good lad, so please pass on my best to him. Adam, over to you, mate. Anything you want to get out there before we close?
Well, I would just obviously thank you, Steve, for having me on, having us all on. My Twitter handle is just Adam Beckett09. I would encourage everyone to go join the trust if you haven't already. I'm sure everyone on this feed has done that. They're obviously a fantastic group. And then just to any other American-based Newcastle fans, I would love to connect, right? We're out here sort of isolated from the club. So if you are an American-based fan or really in any North American area, give me a shout on Twitter and let's connect. Thanks.
Great stuff. And Iceman, last but not least, mate.
Hi, my Twitter handle is at FanWarMore. But what the one thing I'd like to put out there is our fantastic support. Keep liking and hitting that petition. We really, really need it. And also, I'd like to give a shout to the Newcastle Food Bank, who are doing a fantastic job down there. I have seen what they do down there, and it's just amazing that people give up the time and money to help these things.
Great stuff, lads. You've been absolutely fantastic. Obviously, Pete, I know you do this all the time, mate. You're doing your own little thing, but lads, it's always good. I know it's a little bit nervous coming on, but I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll certainly keep in touch with you, and hopefully we'll be able to get you back on, as the season approaches. But for now, lads, thanks very much for coming on.
Cheers, guys. Thanks so much.
Cheers, Steve. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys. Thank you. Cheers. Great to have the guys on, as always. Wonderful to get different supporters on the show. Nice to see that you all appreciated it as well. And I hope you enjoyed a few of the new gimmicks. Thanks to StreamYard, managed to now get a subscription to StreamYard for 12 months. So a few photographs, little bits of introductions and stuff like that. We'll be able to mess around with it and just make it a little bit more professional. And obviously, I've got a mic and a headset now, so it does sound a little bit better. Tomorrow we're going to do worldwide fans. Barry asked, when is Lee Clark back on? Things are starting to get a bit busy for Clarky now with Blue Star. We'll try to get him on. But we'll still be bringing ex-players on. It's not all going to be about the fans. We'll just try to give it a bit of variety every week. Obviously, we've got our regulars. Liam Kennedy's show is going to be a regular. The Three Amigos and, of course, Ladies' Night as well. So we've got those as set. And of course, Super Mac and Gibbo. But, the rest of the rest of it is pretty open. We'll try to, try and give other people a chance. I do like the worldwide one. Could have had Adam on, tomorrow. But, I thought it would be nice to get him on today. Great speaker as well. Been absolutely fantastic having the lads on. Lovely to see that, there's at least a future opportunity at the job centre with this new headset. I'd probably prefer to work at EE because I'd get a little bit of a discount, I think. But listen, great stuff. The petition, not protest, is at 97,636. Keep signing it. Keep sharing it on your social medias. Hopefully we'll get that up to 100,000. 100,000. Whatever you're doing today, hope it's sunny. Hope you enjoy it. I'm actually off to watch a game of football behind closed doors at Dunstan, as I'm still part of the committee. So Dunstan versus North Shields is my my game today. A good old 3 o'clock kickoff. So 6 o'clock tomorrow. See you with all the fans. And Andrew, you've got to change your profile picture, mate. I don't know who that kid is, but he's ugly, mate. He's ugly, definitely ugly. Take care. Have a good day. Bye-bye.